What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So check this out. I just want to do a quick follow-up video. Now, one of the family asked me a question about what do I think about AJ versus Fury now after watching the fight last night. I'm unsure. And the reason is this. I explained in the comments, but it's a lot more to say. I'm trying to break this down as quick as I can. The way AJ fought that fight last night, unsure about what he was supposed to be doing, uncertain, should I throw this punch? Should I punch now? Should I move? He looked lost in there. Like I said, he had no plan B, no plan C. In fact, I'm still trying to figure out what his plan A was. And it was like, no, he had no plan A. His plans basically depended on, let me make it clear this way. Anthony Joshua is not a chess player. He's not a checkers player. He's not even a Connect Four player. Okay? He's a dominoes player. Usyk is a checkers player. Let me explain. One thing that chess has in common with checkers or Connect Four, both players can see what the other person has. You got your king, your queen, your knight, your bishop, your rook, your pawns. We all got the same things, okay? Two fighters got two arms, two legs, one thinking brain, okay? And a body. I can see what you're doing. We're playing chess, and I know all it takes, three bad moves in chess, a couple of bad moves, checkmate. Right from the beginning. So you automatically know, no, you don't move that, you don't move that, you don't do this, you don't do this, right? But if you do, to be creative and make it up, just because you know how to counter. You know what to do. If I go here, he's going to go, okay, yeah, he went there, I know to go here. And even though I can see what you're doing, you can see what I'm doing, it's still strategic. But I'm countering what you're doing, you're countering what I'm doing. I'm attacking, you're attacking, right? Checkers is the same thing. Similar. Difference is you already have a king and a queen in chess, okay? That's what you're trying to protect. In checkers, you're trying to become a queen, like a king, and you want to be able to take the pieces off however you can, right? You can go anywhere. Back, this way, this way, this way. Chess, you got certain pieces can only go certain ways, and you're already aware of it. He can only go back and forth. This one can go 1, 2, and over. This one can go once, right? Same way, backwards, forward. This one can only go this way, this way. This one can go all right. But it's strategic. Your mind has to be focused the entire time. Okay? Chess and checkers, focus. Connect Four, same thing. You're putting your pieces in. You know you can get 4 in a row either way. So you're countering. You're attacking, right? We all can see. I can see what you're doing. You can see what I'm doing. But it's still strategic. Okay? It's here. You see people putting the pieces in. Oh, wait. Wait. They're not sure of themselves, right? Same with checkers. Wait, if I go there, he's going to... they're not sure. Same with checkers, right? Uncertain about where you should move and what you should be doing. Should you attack here or should you counter there? Okay? That's what we saw AJ doing. He was unsure when he should attack, when he should counter, how he should counter, how he should attack. You didn't see any assurance in him. He's a dominoes player. Because in dominoes, I can't see your hand, you can't see mine. But let's say, for example, I put down a piece that ends with a 4. You tap, you can't play that 4. You go into the pile, boom. You still can't play that 4. So now I put down a double 4. Right? Go into the pile, still can't. Now I put down a 4-2. You go into the pile. Now I know you can't play the 2 either. Bam. Now I don't know if you picked up before after I put that 2 down, right? But I know you couldn't play it before. But now, I'm going to call your bluff. Why? You didn't have it before. I just put the 2 down. You couldn't play it. You put another 2. You couldn't play. So now, you understand? I'm attacking. I'm not countering at this point. I'm attacking. What I know you can't play. That's what AJ needs. It doesn't matter what he see you doing. It's more like what you're not doing. That's what makes him more comfortable to plan his attack. This version of AJ. The one thing that AJ has always done, even when he was knocking shit out the park, AJ has a tendency to, when you got a stalemate with him, he's doing this right here, and he's just waiting to see what you're going to do. And he winds up getting clocked with a shot because he's just waiting. And that timing for his hand to come back out, as soon as he does, pop, and you know how Usyk was catching him with that left when he would faint. And AJ would stand there and just get cracked. But AJ has never been a guy with a huge shot selection, a tricky shot selection. That's one thing I would always say is, man, AJ, you got to be more creative with how you throw your shots. But you could see that he was a good fighter. He's always been a good fighter. And he could, you know, he could adjust some in certain ways. And we are, okay, he's still growing as a fighter. AJ's like 32 now, right? And he's like, I'm still learning. These guys better fight me now, because the longer it goes, the better I'm going to get. And it's like, okay. But last night's performance, I wasn't impressed by it. He didn't look good. He did the best that he could do last night. That was the best he could do last night. Now, if he can correct those wrongs and he can come back and do what he has to do, one thing is this, right? He needs to fight like a big man. You think that because now he knows he can fight on the back foot if he needs to, that's a part of his arsenal. But he forgot. It's like he forgot. He used to knock dudes out. And he was tentative to mix it up. If you're not going to go in there and attack and make a war with a guy that doesn't have a big punch, what's going to happen when you go in there with a guy that's going to bring the fight to you? You should not let people dictate if you're going to fight on the back foot or if you're going to be on attack going forward. And that's what Anthony Joshua was missing, those ingredients that I just named. No killer instinct, no willingness to make it a war, no confidence in what he was supposed to be doing, and he was unsure of himself. I could see it. His punches had no bad intentions on it. He had no snap in his jab. His power shots looked weak. I don't think losing weight, losing bulk, any of that, I don't think it helped him at all. Because if you're doing cardio, then where's the combination punches? Right? Where's the double, triple jabs? Where's the lateral movement? Where's the angles at? He did nothing to interrupt Usyk's movement. He did nothing to break his body down, to wear him down where he can't use his legs anymore. He didn't do any of that. So when I'm watching that fight, and, you know, the question was asked, you know, how do I feel about him fighting Fury now? Like, who I think will win? I'm not sure. Fury's not a southpaw. Wilder's not a southpaw. They don't move and box the way Usyk does. Pound for pound, in terms of boxing, Usyk is a better boxer than all three of those guys. Okay? Now, will Fury be able to impose his will on a guy like Usyk? We'll have to see. Let's not forget something. Fury looked terrible against Otto Wallin. So we base, let's say if that was his last fight, if we base Fury, how we rate him on his last performance, if it was against Otto Wallin, we'd be like, nah, he looked like shit in that fight, right? Wilder gets outboxed by damn near everybody, right? And then comes back and he winds up knocking him out. But then, the guy that he gets beat up by is the guy that they said had pillows for fists. We seen Fury get dropped by Steve Cunningham, who's a blown-up heavyweight. How much was he? Like I don't even think he was 210. Might have been around that, or maybe a little less. but he was a cruiserweight. Dropped Fury. Wilder dropped Fury. Fury got back up and brought the fight to both of them. And both fights, he did the same thing. Started bringing the fight to them after he got dropped. So Fury always knew he could go forward if he needed to. But he played it safe. Now, the difference in that is Fury got up and started fighting like a big man in both fights. With Cunningham and in Wilder with the first fight after he got dropped. Second fight, he just completely did everything he was supposed to do, that he needed to do to win, put it like that. AJ didn't go down, but he didn't show a second or third gear. He didn't show that he had the boxing IQ to let me nullify what he's doing. Let me shut that down. Your corner man, if he has to tell you everything, like you can't come up with nothing. You don't understand why you're losing or what's going on, why this guy keep landing these shots. That does not show that you have a good ring IQ. See, and with AJ being a dominoes player, see, the thing about dominoes is this. In dominoes, like I explained, we don't know what each other's holding. We know how many dominoes is in the deck, right? But we also know, okay, he couldn't play this, he couldn't play this. But when you go back into that pile, right, we don't know what you just picked up. So you might have picked up something that you couldn't play before, but because I just put my piece down, I'm not aware yet. So you can end up countering and winning with that piece because I didn't know that you picked that. You didn't have a 4 or 2 before, but now you do, right? Point what I'm saying. It's what you're not doing, right? Like I said, that makes AJ more confident, more comfortable. It's like when he see what you're doing, he's more worried about getting hit. He's more worried about trying to not get embarrassed, trying not to get knocked out. So he limits his own offense. But if you're limited, right? Like if you have that same fear of him that he has of you, he's more comfortable now. Because there's certain shit you're not doing that you should be doing. But if you're able to implement your game, then he showed last night. I'm uncomfortable with that. Southpaw or not. But the southpaw stance coming from Usyk, it definitely played a huge part. So what I need to see is, like I said, how much of that was Usyk and how much of that was AJ not having the ability to do what he needs to do. So I need to see this rematch to see how it plays out. Whoever AJ fights, yeah, I'm pulling for AJ, but I'm not going to sit here and say I think he'll beat these guys just because I want to say that. You understand what I'm saying? I've never seen AJ look this bad. You know, because in fact, even in the Ruiz fight, the ref stopped it. You know, he didn't get knocked out. He was on his back. But AJ in that fight showed no plan B, no plan C. His plan A was working up until he got dropped. And my whole thing with comparing styles is this: you can't go by because this guy beat this guy, he's gonna beat this guy. Okay. Let's rewind. Ken Norton and Joe Frazier both beat Ali and gave Ali hell in every fight they had with them. George Foreman was actually the underdog going against Norton and against Frazier. He destroyed both of them. Ali said, I couldn't whoop Norton as fast as I am. Oh, how you think George Foreman going to beat him? George Foreman, he's slow, he this, he that. And George Foreman went in there and destroyed both of those guys. So now automatically he's going to destroy Ali because shit, Ali, you know, beat those guys. They beat him, but Ali struggled. Ali knocks Foreman out. People, oh, but he never gave Foreman a rematch. Fuck the rematch. We talk about the fight that they had. What happened wasn't supposed to happen. So you can't automatically just say because a guy beat one guy that he's just going to beat this person. Like, it doesn't work that way. Now, Ali has always showed heart, willingness to fight. Ali wasn't scared to fight no fucking body. Ali just went in there and he fought, man. He did what he did. Against Sonny Liston, Liston had liniment on his gloves and it got in Ali's eyes and was burning his eyes. And Angelo Dundee, you know, they said Ali was like, yo, cut the gloves off, man. Like, this guy is fighting dirty. And he told him, nah, man, it's the big time. We don't cut no gloves off. And he said, he just told him, he just pushed him, said, just run. And all he did, they tried to flush his eyes out with water. And when he started to get that sight back, he started tearing Liston's ass up. And when that shit didn't go Liston's way, what'd he do? He quit on a stool. Okay? We can't always think. Like, let's go to Adrian Broner. I'll give you an example of something. Adrian Broner versus Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie is truly a pillow-fisted guy. Okay? Paulie Malignaggi can stand across the street, run as fast as he can, jump up in the air, and just, oh, you can, boom. You're not going nowhere. Okay? Even Paulie, though, does have some knockouts on his record. Of course, those guys couldn't take a punch, man. Come on, let's be real. But you know what I'm saying. Adrian clearly won the fight, but he was very cautious, a low punch output, but he was accurate. And my thing was, if he was that cautious against a guy like Paulie who can't punch, fighting a guy like Marcos Maidana is going to be a nightmare for him. And I remember people like, nah, you going to kill him. Nah, Marcos Maidana's a bum. Like, nah, Maidana ain't no bum. Y'all tripping. I think that's a dangerous fight for Adrian. And people didn't understand why until the fight happened. Now, when they're going, oh, all he got to do is this and this and this. Do you know why he's not doing it? Because he can't do it. That's why. He can't. So this is what I'm looking at with AJ. If you're not willing to go in there and impose your size and your will on a guy who's naturally a lot smaller, what are you going to do with someone that's coming at you trying to take your head off? And see, what I think Tyson Fury, a guy like him, Tyson Fury tactically, with everything, putting his weight on you, walking you back, trying to tire you out, all that. Tyson Fury implements all that shit. He's going to try to do all of that. It's a different fight because, for one, AJ's not going to have to look for Fury. Fury's going to be right in front of him. Fury's not as elusive or as mobile as he used to be. He completely changed his style to coming forward now. So it's a whole different fight. Wilder, you know, any guy that can punch can get a guy out of there. Wilder, we've seen him get outboxed by several guys. When AJ does that shit where he's just standing there waiting, and he's not ready to punch, but he's in punching range, which is one of the most amateur mistakes a lot of fighters make. And I'm watching AJ like, why are you standing there doing this shit, man? Like, move the fuck out of here or either be first, man. No, I mean, you know, if he's doing that against Wilder, and let's say Wilder just time that shit and throw that fucking left jab right hand, he could fuck around and make the fight easier for Wilder simply because he's not sure of what he should be doing. And that's something AJ has done often. Like I said, stand there. You know what I'm talking about, people. Let me move. When he's standing there and he's just doing this, you know, and he'll throw a feint and he's doing, right, he's not ready to punch, but he's standing there. How do you do that and then get cracked? They're timing when he does this as soon as his hand's coming back, right? As soon as he does this, pop! You saw Usyk time him several times with that left hand and catch him doing that shit. When Usyk feints, he stands there and he does nothing. He looked flat and dry. He never got a rhythm going. And Usyk just did everything that he needed to do to win. So for everything that he wasn't doing, double, triple jabs, moving his head when he's coming in, keeping his hands up, bam, rip to the body. You know what I'm saying? Fake, bam, rip to the body again. You know, keep it upstairs, letting him know I'm the bigger, stronger guy. I don't think that the weight loss helped him at all, to be honest with you. AJ didn't look any faster. He looked like he had more energy and stamina in the Ruiz rematch, and he was moving a lot more in that fight. I don't think he needed to lose any weight. I don't think he needed to lose any fucking bulk. I just feel like he needs to learn how to control the pace. He needs to learn how to close the distance, whether he's going forward or backwards. He needs to work off of that jab and trust in his jab and understand that's going to be the difference. A mover depends on you to be flat-footed and stationary. A mover does not like when you move. So for you to give lateral movement angles and not be in front of them and not there when you're not ready to punch, they don't like that. Because now every time they get set, you offset them. Now they got to keep getting reset and reset and reset. You want to frustrate him. You want to get in his head. I didn't see AJ fought like a big man. He fought with this whole, I'm scared to be first. I'm not going to throw any combinations. I'm going to throw one punch at a time. Maybe something to land, and I'll get him out of there. In all honesty, let's just say if in the last round or something, he would have caught Usyk and got him out of there and won. I don't think AJ would have really learned a lesson. I don't know. But this is what I think. I think in AJ's mind, he would have felt like, hey, man, Usyk is a great fighter. I expected that, hey, I might be down in the cards, but I got to depend on me being a bigger man to get him out of there. And I think he would have went into another fight thinking the same way. Now, this loss can either make him better or it can break him. We'll see. Hopefully, he gets better. Hopefully, he sharpens up and he understands. And I think one of the biggest things with AJ right now, in all honesty, is his lack of confidence. When he lost to Andy Ruiz, I remember him saying sometimes you question yourself, like, do you belong on this level? Should you be here? And I'm like, that's the wrong way to think, AJ. If you're questioning your ability, you know, that's like, honestly, that's like going to a job interview and an employer says, you know, so in your opinion, why should I hire you? And you say something like, well, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm the person for this job. I don't even know if I belong here, but I'm willing to try if you're willing to take a chance on me. That's like, you might as well say some shit like that if you really don't want the job. So when you say that, other fighters are going, yeah, he's lacking heart now. And then they watch your performance. And when you don't have a plan A or a plan B, look, Roy Jones was 199 pounds when he fought John Ruiz. People thought Ruiz was going to kill Roy Jones. Simply why? He's just too big, too strong for this little guy. You know the funny thing about that fight? Roy Jones nullified everything John Ruiz was trying to do. He never let him get comfortable thinking he could bull rush him. John Ruiz bull rushed Holyfield. There's other heavyweights he fought. He tried to implement his size, even if he was the same size as them. Even if, you know, he came forward and tried to. Roy Jones was catching him with shots he couldn't see. And the funny thing was, Roy Jones didn't fight him like a typical smaller guy. Let me come in and get on the inside. He was beating him from the outside. Quickness, sharpness, accuracy, counter-punching ability, right? Attack when he needed to. And basically, he was catching Ruiz when he was making Ruiz overcommit the shots. And he was catching him. I mean, smart. Roy Jones had a very, very high boxing IQ. And this guy's, what, 5'10", 5'11", Roy Jones? It was 199 pounds. And John Ruiz, he caused him to not fight like a big man. I remember George Foreman several times. He need to bump him and put his weight on him. You fighting this little man, you got to go after it. And I'm like, he's absolutely right. That's what Ruiz is going to need to do. But again, he's not sure about what he's supposed to be doing. He was trying, and he just couldn't figure it out. But he showed more heart to attack than AJ showed against Usyk last night. And he made excuses. How could I give Roy Jones credit? I was fighting two guys. I was fighting him and the referee. The referee was... No, John, you got to change your tactics. He was trying to get Roy Jones on the ropes and trying to, you know, he was hitting behind it. He was doing a lot of, he see dirty. We're not talking about doing dirty tactics. We're talking about implementing the strategy and changing when you need to. Where you can box, you can get what you need, get them shots. My jab is working. I'm going to the body. I'm backing this little guy up. That's what we're talking about. You know, what Roy Jones would do smart was, too, every time they tie up, he would walk behind the referee, just buying time. Same thing, he chipped and get distance, and as Ruiz is coming in, he either time him and catch him, or he would time him, make a miss and time up, move, then catch him. I mean, it was smart thinking. And see, this is what we need to see from AJ. I need to see the rematch to see what he looks like. In all honesty, if he doesn't knock Usyk out in the rematch, and let's say he doesn't knock him out, but let's say he dominates like he's supposed to, then that's definitely a big step in the right direction. If he dominates, okay? Because Usyk can take a punch. But if he goes in and win like a split or majority decision, or he looks tentative and he's trying to box this little guy instead of going in there and banging him around, if he's scared to make it a dogfight, if he doesn't trust his stamina, if whatever it is, he doesn't trust his ability to get the shots in, to be able to cut him off, and if Anthony Joshua truly can't overcome any of those fears and concerns, he's gonna have problems with not just Usyk, not just Wilder, not just Fury, but he's gonna have problems with a Joe Joyce. He may have problems in a rematch with a Dillian White. He may. Reason? Everybody who I just said at some point is going to try to take your head off. Now, I credit Usyk and his style for disrupting everything that AJ was trying to do. But what I'm saying is AJ didn't show the ability to do anything different. He didn't even try anything different. He just did the same shit over and over and over through the whole fight. And how are you going to beat anybody fighting like that? So if last night's performance, if I'm basing it, the only reason why I'm saying, like, because stylistically, Usyk is different from everybody else I just named. He's the only fighter that fights the way he does in the heavyweight division. So I think Usyk, honestly, after seeing that last night, I think he'll beat any of these heavyweights. In all honesty, I think he can beat any of them. He knows how to carry his weight. He knows how to get in and get out. And he's smart. He's not going to let you dictate how he's going to fight. But at the same time, let me put it like this. You see what AJ didn't make him do? And he let him stay comfortable. He had nothing to worry about. Now, AJ landed some shots, had his face red and cut under the eyes and stuff like that, you know. But he didn't do enough. It was too far and few apart from what he was actually doing. Tyson Fury is definitely going to try to walk Usyk down. He's going to try to use his jab and catch up to him. He's going to try to rush in at times and trap him on the ropes. Usyk is basically, he'll move, he'll throw his shots. He needs to throw more body shots at Fury than he did at AJ. You know, he's going to fight the same fight. Tyson Fury is going to have a hard time catching up with Usyk. And even with his reach and size and throwing his jab and moving, Usyk is going to stay on the outside of that. He's going to be moving. I see him having trouble with Usyk. Same way he had trouble with Otto Wallin. I see him having trouble with Usyk. Wilder is a guy, unless he can catch Usyk and knock him out, he gets easily outboxed. I don't see Wilder beating Usyk either. AJ, as far as him beating anybody, he has to get his heart back. When I say heart, he has the heart to get in there and fight you. I mean, he enters the ring. He got in there and he did the best he could last night. But again, he needs to understand how he got to this point in the first place. What got him to become champion. When he put Charles Martin in his ass, it wasn't because he was standing there not knowing what to throw or just trying to win a decision moving around, when here you are, a big, strong guy. Lennox Lewis went from being a brawler to a boxer, right? And here's the thing. Lennox Lewis, whether he was on the back foot or going forward, Lennox Lewis came to fight. Lewis was trying to knock you the fuck out. Lewis wasn't in there bitching around. He was trying to win. Let's take Lennox Lewis versus Holyfield, who's a much smaller guy. Lewis was boxing carefully, and Holyfield has a full arsenal as well, and Holyfield is no play toy. So they called the first fight a draw. Most people feel like Lennox Lewis won. Second fight, they finally got the decision right. Okay. But at the end of the day, we're talking about elite level guys. And Usyk is an elite level guy. So my thing is, even if AJ don't knock him out, he needs to be dominant. He needs to be dominant. He needs to correct everything he did wrong in that first fight in the rematch. And he needs to be dominant. And if he can't get a guy out because the guy's elusive and moving, okay. But when you got a little guy that's showing more heart to come in and trade than you are, it's not going to be a good thing for AJ if he can't correct that. And again, AJ could find himself in a position of taking a tune-up fight and wind up losing to that guy because that guy comes in there and he's ready to fight, and AJ is not sure about what he needs to do. So if he needs to get Tony Sims back in, if he needs to get somebody like Tony Sims, somebody that can help, you know, guide him, remind him of who the fuck he was before and how he can add to that arsenal and not take away, because he completely just deviated away from being that big dominant guy that came in there. I mean, the dude was knocking everybody out. You know, even in the fight that he had with Klitschko was a great fucking fight. You didn't see that. You didn't see any of that. He didn't go down, but you just didn't see him come back with anything other than just looking nervous, looking worried and unsure. So when you look at all these different fighters, man, you always got to understand, just because a guy beats one guy doesn't mean the other guy beats him. You know, stylistically, AJ, Fury, Wilder, Usyk, Dillian White, all those guys are so different. Joe Joyce, they're so different from each other. So when you think, well, this guy beat him, so he'll beat him, that's not a fact. And in fact, none of those other guys have a real speed advantage over AJ. You know, he hits hard enough to knock any of these guys out. But with that nervous energy, you didn't see it. Nothing. He had nothing on the shots last night. And I think AJ needs to just go back to being AJ. Keep training. You don't listen. I don't know how AJ was working out in terms of muscularity. I don't know what he was doing. But if you're going to focus so hard, he said he's been doing nothing but cardio. You can see it. His shoulders, his traps, everything looked thinner. He definitely lost the bulk. But what I'm trying to understand is what was that for? Like, what did it help? Like, I don't understand what it helped, because if your conditioning was better than it's ever been, then you should have definitely been busier. And that jab, what was the key for Joe Joyce versus Dubois? He went there with a guy that's a savage puncher that tries to take your head off with every shot, and he nullified. He didn't so much nullify shit, to be honest with you, because Dubois was landing shots, but the jab was the key for Joyce. That jab was the key, and he kept it out there. Kept on that jab every round until he closed his eye and caused Dubois to quit. I would have rather seen AJ do that than to just stand up there and pretty much just look like a deer in the headlights, man. He just didn't know what to do. So for me to really assess where I think he is, like I said, I'm going to have to see that rematch and see what he looks like then. You still haven't seen Wilder versus Fury. You know, again, which is a fight I'm just not interested in. But whoever the winner is, because there's a rematch clause against Usyk and AJ, we're not looking to see, you know, we're talking 2022 sometime, maybe around the summer. If these guys fight, I mean, you never know. Somebody might get injured. Somebody gets sick, you know, and the way fights are being pushed back and postponed nowadays, you really don't know. But at the end of the day, I thought it was a good night of boxing. You know, AJ didn't get the win. But that's what the sport is about. You know, you look at different fights and different scenarios and who did what. Sometimes you can put a strategy together and say, this is what I think this guy needs to do, or this definitely would be the way I would train this guy. The guy might do something different and still win. Like I said, Roy Jones beat a guy who was much taller, much heavier, longer reach from the outside. He didn't beat him from the inside, beat him from the outside. You know, and that's something that if he would have said before the fight, Like if you knew that was a strategy, you'd have said, nah, that's not the way to do it, Roy. You got to get on the inside. But at the same time, you know, Roy fought the right, smart strategy. You know, he did what he had to do. Now, a guy like Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Ali, Tyson, Michael Moorer, even for that Michael Moorer, you know, George Foreman and Joe Frazier. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't see none of these heavyweights being on that level. Larry Holmes, I don't see AJ, I don't see Fury, I don't see any of them. Scale-wise, Usyk is probably the closest to them, but I don't see any of those guys being better than those guys I just named. I really don't. I really don't. I don't think these guys would have beat Tommy Morrison. None of them. Not Fury, not Wilder, not AJ. I honestly don't think those guys would have beat him. I think Smoking Burt Cooper would have gave these guys a run for their fucking money. I honestly don't. These heavyweights, I'm gonna be, look, in every division, you have somebody there that, okay, he's a solid fighter. The majority of these fighters that I see, in all honesty, there's just shit that you watch and you just don't see these fighters doing. And you don't really realize how special the fighters of the past was until you start to really watch film and go, damn, wait a minute, see how he did that? See how he got away from that shot? See how he did, and you realize like these guys just don't do a lot of shit that they should do. Basic fundamentals. They don't, you got flashy guys, got a lot of flash and flare and look stylish, but they lack a lot of basic fundamentals. And there's no fucking way for you to be an elite fighter to go into a fight and don't have a plan B or a C. Especially when your plan A just went to shit from the very start of the bell. It's like, now what? And if you as a fighter can't come up with the solutions and understand without a trainer forcing you to do what you're supposed to do, you're going to have a hard time at that point. Like this can be a pivotal point in AJ's career right now where we already don't see him as being the same fighter, but now another loss will really hurt him. Not just on his record, but in here, and in here. Like, and you know, he already was questioning himself after the Andy Ruiz loss. He came back, he did what he had to do. But the whole thing is, every fight is different, and it's not about a comfort zone. So when you're playing dominoes, it's remembering what's in that person's hand. Okay? What they couldn't play, but you don't know what they just picked up. So when you call their bluff, either you're going to get lucky at that point or you're going to get countered. But if you're afraid to play checkers and chess simply because I just can't figure out what I'm looking at. I mean, there's only one Usyk in that division. Let's not get it twisted. But if that's the case, and remember I said this, Usyk is a checkers player, not a chess player. He's a checkers player. Okay? With back jumping and all that. He's a checkers player. AJ is a dominoes player. That's what he is. I use Connect Four, checkers and chess and dominoes to describe how I see certain fighters. And if you understand the games, then you understand exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying. But anyway, never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. And I will catch you on the next video.